and hand it over to Andrea.
Thanks, Alexis. So I'm going to be talking with all of you today, and I'm going to talk for quite a while, so I apologize in advance. But I want to do a few things today. I want to give you a broader context and an overview of what your academic experience will look like the entire time you're at St. Martin's, as well as dive a little bit more deeply into looking at your fall semester specifically and what will be involved in that. So just a few highlights of the different things that we'll cover in my presentation. We'll start with kind of the broad picture view. What do you need to do to be able to graduate and earn a degree from St. Martin's? Because that's our ultimate goal. We all want you to graduate. We want everyone to be as successful as possible. So I'll talk about what's involved in that. What do you need to accomplish in order to earn a degree? Then I'll talk about our core curriculum, which is our general education program at St. Martin's. This is one of the goals of orientation that was highlighted by Chrislyn, is learning about our liberal arts education. And our core curriculum is the way that we do that. And so I'll explain what that core curriculum is all about and why it's important to us. I'm going to spend a little bit of time, not a lot, but a little bit talking about academic expectations. What is going to be asked of you as a student here, because we want you, again, to be as successful as possible. Then we're going to review the fall course schedules. Like I said, you should have been emailed earlier in today by whoever is going to be your advisor over the summer, and I'll explain a little bit more later what that means, that you're going to have this advisor and this person to work with. And I'll talk about what we've already registered you for and what you can continue to add to your schedule, and we'll work with you to help you do that. I'll show you how to find classes in our self-service system in case you do want to add more classes to your schedule for fall. And then we'll talk about next steps and what happens from here. So like I said, let's start with the biggest picture piece. What do you need to do to graduate from St. Martin's and earn a degree? So there's really kind of three pieces to the puzzle, well, kind of four, I guess. I say three, but there's really four. The first is that you need to have earned at least 120 total credits to be able to graduate. You may earn more than that, that's fine, but if you have less, you're not going to be able to graduate. If you're looking at a 4-year plan, that's an average of 30 credits a year, or around 15 a semester. Again, these are averages, so if you're a little less or a little over, that's okay. Most of the classes that we offer at St. Martin's are going to be 3 or 4 credits per class. There are some that differ, but the majority of what you're going to take and what's going to be required either in the core program or in your major is going to be 3 or 4 credits. And so if you're looking at that 15 credit a semester average, that breaks down to about 4 or 5 classes each semester that you're going to want to be enrolled in. You're going to need to take at least 12 credits each semester to be considered a full-time student. And you do want to be considered a full-time student because that's how you're going to get the most access to financial aid. So that's usually, most students want to be full-time. There may be a semester where you want to take fewer credits, and we can talk about all that, but usually you want at least 12 credits each semester. You're allowed to take up to 18. That's a pretty full load, but so kind of between 12 and 18 credits each semester is kind of that sweet spot where you're going to be living. So that's one piece to graduate, is looking at overall credits. You need at least 120 to graduate. One other element of that, though, is that at least 40 of those credits, so a third of them, need to be what we call upper division credits. So those are courses that are numbered in the 300s or 400s that you will take as you progress in your degree. Those are classes that get a little bit deeper. They're not introductory. Most of those credits you will earn automatically just by completing the requirements of your academic major or of the core program. So you don't have to worry too much about earning those 40 credits, but it is something that we'll keep our eye on as we move along, and your advisor can help you with that. So one piece of the puzzle is 120 credits, and 40 of them need to be upper division. Two other pieces, you need to have fully completed an academic major. So all the components of that, every major has very specific requirements, and you need to complete all those requirements before you can graduate. And again, you also need to complete all the requirements that are in our core curriculum, again, our general education program. If any element of those is missing, you're not going to be able to complete your program. And you also need to make sure you maintain at least a 2.0 cumulative grade point average. That is the minimum that St. Martin's sets. There are some academic programs and different majors that require a higher GPA than that. But again, the minimum is a 2.0, which is a C average. So if you have all of these areas, then you can graduate. And so our job as advisors is to help you track this and make a plan so that you can graduate in the time frame you're looking at and you can meet all of your academic goals. So when you're looking at those 120 credits that you need to complete to graduate, your academic major is going to take up about a third to a half of those total credits. Each major differs a little bit in how many credits are required of the program, but it's going to be anywhere from a third to about a half. The core curriculum is going to take another third of those credits, but those two together still means that there's extra credits that are going to need to be earned to reach the 120. It's not 100%. It's not the full piece of the pie. So there are elective credits. That's what we call other classes that you would take. So there are elective credits that you're going to need to take as well. And there's a couple ways that you can direct those credits if you want to be more intentional about what you take. Some students complete a second major along with their intended first major. You could complete a minor. St. Martin's has a huge list of different minors that we offer. So again, if you have a particular interest, but you don't want to make it a major, you could concentrate those classes that you would take that are fulfilling those elective credits into a minor. You could also study abroad, which granted is a little more difficult at the moment, but we're hoping in a year or two, we will be able to travel much more freely. And if you are looking to study abroad, which we encourage, you do want to plan for that sooner rather than later. So it's something you can start thinking about now and talking to your advisor about how that would fit into your academic plan. So each semester when you register for classes, including this fall, you're going to have a mix of these three different areas. You'll have some classes from your major, some that are fulfilling core requirements, and then you may also have one or two classes that are those elective credits and could be counting towards a minor or another area that you're interested in. So you'll have a healthy mix of those classes every semester. So I keep talking about the core curriculum and we mentioned the liberal arts. So what is the core curriculum? I'm going to outline what this program is about and the different requirements. I'm not going to go super in depth. We'll teach you a lot more about it in the fall. But I do want you to have an understanding of what's coming in your time at St. Martin's. So again, the core curriculum is the general, what we call the general education curriculum at St. Martin's. As was mentioned earlier by Alexis and Chrislyn, we are a liberal arts institution. What that means is that we want you to learn about and welcome all different kinds of knowledge and different ways of looking at the world and asking questions. And a good way to do that is to get wide exposure to a lot of different academic disciplines. This allows you to approach problems and questions in new ways and see how different people really come to understand and create knowledge in new ways. How do these things interact with each other? How do different ideas and disciplines overlap? So the courses that you're going to take as part of the core curriculum allow that. So you're going to take a series of different courses that will expose you to all different academic disciplines and ideas and topics throughout your time here. So your academic major is an area where you're going to go really deep into one academic topic or an area of interest to you. You're going to have several courses in it, and it's going to allow a lot of depth and a lot of knowledge in one specific area. But the core allows for that breadth of knowledge and to see how your academic major in that discipline can fit within kind of the broader body of knowledge. So our core curriculum is kind of divided into three different phases. And while you kind of want to progress through them in order, they don't explicitly have to be all completed exactly in order. It's okay to move on to the second phase if you haven't fully completed the first one, but in general, you want to progress in the direction of 1 to 2 to 3. So the first phase is what we call our foundations phase. So you're going to take some courses from that this fall semester. And these are courses that are designed to help you transition into the university and be successful students. And they're also going to help you build really fundamental skills in areas that are going to be helpful and that you'll pull upon time and time again in every single other class that you take at St. Martin's. So there's a writing class, there's a mathematics course, a religious studies course, and so there's classes that help you understand faculty expectations, the level of writing that they're looking for, and help you kind of hone and sharpen those skills. The second phase is what we call the conversatio seminars. And so this is where you're looking at different academic topics and disciplines. These classes are going to be more topically based in nature, and you'll have an opportunity to take several and look at other areas of the academy that you may not be studying as deeply. Finally is the Ora et Labora seminars. I can never say that correctly. So these courses are more topical in nature. They're around a central idea. They're not as focused on a certain academic discipline. They're more interdisciplinary in nature. They may look at an idea or a question, and these are meant to help students transition from kind of the learning phase and into the world of work phase. So how are you going to take everything that you've learned at St. Martin's about yourself in terms of how you see the world, and how are you going to transition that into your life after you leave St. Martin's as well? So let's talk about that foundation phase. I mentioned what it's all about, but there are several different elements to it that I'll discuss really quickly. The first one is Core 100, which is our first year seminar. Every single first year student to the university will take Core 100 this fall semester. So all of you should see that on the schedules that we sent you because this is a required course in your first semester. So everyone's going to do this. It's a great course. It's going to help you get familiar with, again, with some of the expectations in courses, with different things, pieces of knowledge that will help you succeed at St. Martin's and become familiar with St. Martin's, but it's also going to be based around a specific idea and topic that's relevant to our current world. Core 110, Religious Studies. We are a Catholic Benedictine universities, and so it's important that we engage in the study of religion. Core 120 is a writing course that we had you take the English placement, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but that's because we want you to take, oh, excuse me, I skipped to the next slide. But that's because we want you to take these writing courses and be prepared to be successful in them. Core 130 is our math class, and this course is a little bit different than a lot of the other core classes. Because if you need to take a math class as a part of your major, so if you are, let's say you're a biology major, and so you're going to be required to take pre-calculus and potentially even calculus, the math class that you take as part of your major can count towards fulfilling the Core 130 requirement. So this is one instance where the core can overlap with your major. Now, if you're going to major in an area that doesn't require math as part of the degree, such as history, then you can take the specific Core 130 class, which is going to be a more generalized math class and more with topics that are more applicable to our current world. And then Core 130 is our World Languages and Cultures class. This is only required of students who are getting a major that will result in earning a Bachelor of Arts degree. So majors within our College of Arts and Sciences. So some of the sciences, social sciences, humanities, and some of those areas. And if you're not sure if your degree is a Bachelor of Arts, your advisor can help you with that. The Conversatio seminars, which is kind of that second level of classes, these are the 200 level core classes. As I mentioned before, these ones focus around more different academic disciplines and allow you to sample some different areas and see what you're interested in and excited in. So Core 210 is going to be a humanities course. Again, there's several topics within that: philosophy, religion, literature. You can kind of choose what you want within. There's multiple areas within each of these elements. Core 220 is the social sciences. Core 230 is a natural science, and like Core 130 with the math class, this is again a slightly different course, where if your major requires a lab science, that class can count towards fulfilling the Core 230 requirement. If not, like communication studies, you can choose to take the Core 230 class, or you could take a lab science as well. Core 240 is artistic and creative expression, and Core 250 is history and political science. One thing that I'm going to note, I'm not going to explain in depth because we'll teach you much more in the fall. You don't have to worry about it right now. But one of these classes, with the exception of 230, so one of the other 4 offerings, you will need to take as what they call a writing intensive course. And that just means there's going to be a little bit more work involved, some longer papers, a little bit more research. And so you'll take that class as a 4-credit class rather than a 3-credit class. So again, we'll explain much more in fall what that means. None of you are going to be taking a writing intensive course this fall, so you don't need to worry about it right now. Went too far. Okay, so finally, the final phase here, we have 4 different areas that are offered. And again, these are around themes. These are more, how do we integrate some of the ideas that we've learned? How do we talk about how this can affect life outside of St. Martin's? So these are really exciting classes. They're more culminating classes because you're bringing together what you've learned thus far. There's 4 different themes and topics offered, and you choose 2 of them. So you don't take all of these. You can choose 2 of them that you want to take. And similar to the second phase of courses, one of them will also need to be a writing intensive course, and will be 4 credits instead of 3. And the final requirement is a little different. Core 400, essentially every academic major that we offer has a culminating course that you take in your final year that we call the capstone course. And that's the class where you really get to show what you've learned in that major. And there's usually some kind of research or writing project involved in it. By nature of completing that course in your major, you will automatically fulfill the Core 400 requirement. So this is not an additional course that you need to take, but it's still a requirement you need to meet. But it will happen automatically through completing your major. So that's our core curriculum. I think it's really exciting because I love the liberal arts. I think it's exciting to learn about a lot of different areas and learn more about yourself along the way. So you just need to complete this entire program by the time you graduate. So as I mentioned, these courses are going to be kind of woven into your other classes each semester, and you'll take them along the way, while you're completing classes for your major. So let's talk for a minute about academic expectations. But first, I'm going to take a drink of water because I'm talking a lot. All right. Like I said, I'm not going to go in depth here, but I do think it's important to know what your faculty members, your professors are going to expect of you, and what are just some kind of norms within our academic community. First, you should always attend class. Every professor is going to have a slightly different attendance policy. In some classes, it may not matter much. In some classes, it will matter a lot. But in general, you're paying a lot of money to get this education. And so we want you to attend class and get the most out of it. It's to your own benefit. That being said, we are in the middle of a pandemic. So if you do not feel well, if you are ill or sick, or you just are feeling a little off and you want to be on the safer side, please don't come to class. We want you to err on the side of caution. But anytime you need to miss class, and we understand there may be things that come up. Life happens. There may be something go on in the family, your car breaks down, whatever it may be. We understand that things happen, but the most important piece is, if you're ever going to miss class, to be in communication with your professor as soon as possible. So if beforehand, before you miss the class, perfect. If you can't do it before, as soon after as possible, just so that they know you're still engaged. You're looking to make up what you missed, and they know that you're not just not there or not tuned in. So that's going to be really important. So usually just shooting them an email, letting them know what's up as much as you're comfortable with, and letting them know your plan to make sure you're gaining the knowledge that you missed while you were absent. Another one, I want to talk about how important checking your St. Martin's email account is. Um, it's the official way that the university communicates with you. While I know email can sometimes seem daunting when you have a whole bunch in your inbox, we just don't have a better form of communication at the moment to convey larger pieces of information. We can't text everything that is important to share, as much as I would love that personally, right? And so you are held to knowing information shared with you through your email. The same is true for your classes. Your professors are going to expect you to know anything that is presented in the course syllabus, which is kind of an outline of the course and a plan for the course, due dates, all of that. And so anything that's in your course syllabi or in your email, you are going to be accountable for knowing. And so, sometimes I've taught classes before and students will say, well, I didn't know that. And I'll say, well, that's not really a great excuse because it was in your syllabus. And so you should have known that. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to be flexible and we're not going to work with you as much as possible, but at the same time, you are held to know that. And so from this day forward, we want you to check your St. Martin's email regularly. We also kind of want to talk about time and schedules a little bit. One of the things that I hear frequently from students is that one of the biggest transition pieces that somewhat surprises them from moving from high school into college is just the way that your schedule is so different. Because you may not have a full day of classes anymore like you did in high school that you were used to. You may have big gaps in between when your classes are offered. So what do you do with that 2 or 3 hours in between classes? How can you be productive? How can you utilize that? So it's a different flow and rhythm to your day than you may be used to. And so part of that is utilizing that time to study. So kind of the general rule, and this is going to change, it'll shift depending on the class, depending on the week in the class. But you want to expect to spend about twice as much time studying and working on course material as you would in the class. So if it's a 4-credit class and you're in class for 4 hours each week, then you should expect to roughly spend about 8 hours a week working on that class. And like I said, that'll fluctuate some, but that's the general rule. And another difference that I just wanted to highlight real quickly is a lot of times classes at the university level, the grade is going to be based on a lot fewer assignments. So everything that you work on carries more weight in your final grade. So you may have a class where your entire grade is based on, 3 quizzes or exams, 2 papers, and a group presentation, and that's it. And so it can't, and every class is going to be a little different, but that's just something to keep in mind as well. And I did just want to plug, again, I work in the Center for Student Success, and that's where our peer tutors and writing center are located. Your tuition is already paid for these services, and so there's no additional cost. And we have wonderful students that are exceptional in their areas of academics that are ready and willing to help you learn more about that academic discipline and how to be successful. So we encourage you to use them. So let's get to the part that I know you're all really excited about and talk about your fall course schedules. As I mentioned, we emailed you earlier today with part 2, maybe a full schedule, depending on your major, for the fall. So over the past few weeks, we've had some faculty helping us, but the advisors have been working with the faculty to prepare these schedules for you. We didn't necessarily prepare your entire schedule because we do want you to have some voice in what you're taking and be able to select courses you're excited about. But everything that we've put you in that you see on that schedule thus far is classes that are important for you to be able to start well in your chosen major. So it may be a class that is really important to have right away in the major. and then along with some classes in the core that are good to get you started. So as I mentioned, everyone should have a Core 100 class on their schedule. If nothing else, you will have that. Some of you may have a writing course, an English 100 or a Core 120, so you may see that on there as well. Other things you see, again, are courses that we think are important for you to start. So it may be a math class, maybe a science class, maybe a combo of them. Some of our majors, such as engineering, if you are pre-health, you may have pretty full schedules already. And so if you're beyond 12 credits, you're beyond that full-time status, you can just kind of leave that schedule where it is and you will be set for the fall. If you're at like, 7 credits, 8 credits, even just 4, you might just have 1 class, then I'm going to talk to you about how to find new classes that you can add that would be beneficial to your schedule for fall. So the schedule that's in front of you may not be as complete as we want it to be right now. We put these together with the best information that we had at the time. That doesn't mean that things won't change, and we can continue to work on and change your schedule up until the point when classes start. So nothing is set in stone. Everything that's in your hand was given to you intentionally, but that doesn't mean it can't change. We just want you to talk with your advisor, and I'll show you who your advisor is later on in this presentation. So the reason it may not be as complete as we want it to, or if it doesn't look the way you anticipate, it may be that we're waiting on your scores from either the math or English placement. Math scores are really important in some majors because we can't get you started in certain science or math classes until we have that. That's one of the exams that you can take immediately. So if you haven't taken that yet, you should have the link to do that, and I encourage you to do it right away so that we can get you in appropriate classes. One word on the English placement. I know it's been hard to schedule an exam date, and that is okay. I want to reassure you of that. We're very aware that it's been difficult. We do work with an outside vendor for this, and unfortunately, again, because of the pandemic, a lot more people have needed to use online testing instead of in person. And so more people are using that company. They've been a little overwhelmed, and so it's been hard to get times. If you haven't been able to take that yet, it's okay. We still want you to take it. I can't emphasize that enough. You still need to take it, but it's okay if we get that score later. We want you to have writing in your first year for sure, but it's okay if you can't take that writing class this fall. But even if you're going to take it in spring, we still need you to take the placement exam so that we have that score and we know the appropriate class to put you in for the spring. So ease your fears. If you're worried about getting a time, still sign up for it, but it's okay if it's a couple weeks from now. We'll follow up with you once we get that score. It's really important if you have gotten any kind of college credit through a dual high school college credit earning program, we really need your final transcripts from the college from which you earned credit, so that we know what you're already receiving credit for that can be applied to your classes at St. Martin's. So we may be waiting on those before we place you in a few other classes as well. So again, if your schedule doesn't look the way you think it should, your advisor will follow up with you, but we might be waiting on either your math or English placement, or we might be waiting on a final official transcript for all the credits that you're bringing in with you. I also want to mention AP really quickly. If you took any kind of advanced placement exams, we are still waiting on getting the scores for those. They have told us they're anticipating around the 15th, which would be sometime next week, so hopefully we'll get them soon. But once we get those scores, if what we see would affect what we maybe already registered you for, we'll be in contact with you, and then we'll help you adjust your schedule or add a class as appropriate based on that. So again, everything can change, but what we've given you thus far was picked pretty intentionally. So we probably don't want to change that unless we absolutely have to. As I mentioned, if your schedule is at least 12 credits or more, you're probably good to go. But if it's not, we want to get you up to that full-time status. And so we're looking at, it's okay in your first semester to take a little less. And so maybe 12 to 14, 15 credits this first semester is completely appropriate. So I'm going to show you in a minute how to use our self-service system and search for classes so that you can find classes you want to take along with the ones you're already registered for and get registered for those. I do want to talk about online classes really quickly just for a moment because they do differ slightly from our face-to-face in-person classes. So St. Martin's does routinely throughout the academic year offer classes that are exclusively offered online. And it's perfectly okay for you to take those classes, but they're formatted a little differently. So I just wanted to mention that. So our traditional semesters are 16 weeks long. The online courses are only 8 weeks, so they're half that semester. So they would either meet from when classes start in August till late October, or they would start at the very end of October and go through mid-December. So they're not going to be the entire semester. But you're still earning the same amount of credit, you're still learning the same amount of content, and it's going to require the same amount of work. So what that means is because it's the timeline's cut in half, it's what we call concentrated study. And so you're going to be doing about twice as much work for that class as you normally would if it was a full semester class. And so if you take an online class, it just might kind of throw the balance of your semester off a little bit in terms of your workload. So sometimes, if it's possible, I'd say if there's a class you need that's online, maybe try to find another online class for the other half of the semester to balance out that workload a little bit if possible. If not, just know that's going to be off a little bit in your semester. Again, it's okay to take these classes. I'm not saying don't. The only caveat there is if you are using any kind of military funding, talk to your advisor about that because there are some limitations on how many online classes you can take with military funding. So we'll help you navigate that if that's the case. So let's talk quickly about classes that you should consider adding if you do need to fill in some of your schedule. So classes that could be good for you to take this fall, we talked before about the core curriculum, and those are fantastic classes for you to add to your schedule right now, especially classes at the 100 level and some at the 200 level. So core 110, which is our religious studies class, is a great class to start with. It's a class that everyone will take in their time at St. Martin's. Core 140, if you need that for your degree, the language, that's a good one to take right away as well. And the core 200s are those topical classes. We'll have one in communications, one in criminal justice, one in political science. And so you can kind of explore. That being said, and your advisor will catch this if you're signing up for the wrong thing, but we don't want you to take a core 200 level class on a topic that's the same as your major. As you're perusing those classes, it's probably going to catch your eye and sound exciting and like a great class because you're already excited in that topic. But the content of that class is basically going to be the same as what you're going to get in a class that's required for your major. And so we want the core class to be something different. So if you're planning to major in psychology, don't take the core 220 class that is topically about psychology. And again, I'll explain this in a little bit when we talk about registration, but there is a check-in place where advisors review your schedule before you're actually registered. And so we'll make sure that doesn't happen. But I just wanted to mention that anyways. You could also look at classes in an academic area where you're considering a minor or just something that you're interested in and see if it's something you want to explore because again, you have those elective credits to fill. So it's okay if something isn't as specifically applicable to either your major or the core curriculum. If you're interested in being part of choir or band, our choir and band programs are open to anyone, including staff and faculty, which is really exciting. So that's a great class to add. And I do want to talk just for a minute about another special course that we have called Ed 230. And this is part of our Benedictine Leadership Program. This is a 1-credit course that is offered in fall and spring. And I want to mention this specifically because the Benedictine Leadership Program can be really helpful for students to participate in if you want to get involved at St. Martin's in a leadership capacity in the future. We do have some student groups who are required to take this course. So if you see Ed 230 on your schedule right now, It's because you're in one of those student groups. And so we've already enrolled the students in it who need it if it's a required group, but any student can take it. And it's a 1-credit class that could easily fit in your schedule that you might want to take. Because again, there are benefits down the road. You don't have to take it in the fall. It is offered in spring, but I just want to talk about that too. There's a series of 3 courses. You can take 1, you can take 2, you can take all. But these are great if you want to be involved in Saints Promise or Ahana, which is awesome at being a mentor. These are all wonderful positions that you can do. For this fall, there's sections that are being offered Tuesdays at noon and Wednesdays at 3. It only works one time a week, meets 1 time a week because it's a 1-credit class. And so Ann Adams, who's our Associate Dean of Students, and Justin Stern, they kind of run this program together. So if you have questions, you can contact them. I'm not going to go in depth talking to you about what Saints Promise is because you're going to get more info on this later, but this is a new program at the university that we're really excited about. And if you decide that you want to enroll in this program, the Ed 230 class is going to be a required part of that program. So I just wanted to mention that as well. So how do you find classes to fill in your schedule? You might have a rough idea of some things to search for that I talked about, but how do you find those? So bear with me for a second here. I need to switch over to the internet. Okay, here we go. So when you're on the St. Martin's University homepage, first I want to show you some resources that you can use to search for classes and register for classes. And I want to assure you that I am going to send you an email as soon as this session is over that has all the information I'm about to tell you about registering for courses and direct links to get to these resources. So it'll be fine. You'll be able to find these again. But I want to start out by taking you to our website. Ooh, wrong thing there. So the Advising Center website has some great resources for you. And again, I'm going to send you a direct link to this page. But we've got a couple videos right on top. You'll see it says registration resources. So we created a video that shows you how to search for classes, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But again, you'll have this to reference later. And then there's a video showing you specifically how to register for classes through the self-service system. Self-service is our online system where you're going to find all sorts of information, your academic records, transcripts, schedules, financial aid information. So you'll become familiar with it as you go along. But I'm going to email you these directions, but also so you know that we have this video here that will walk you through how to do it. We've also got some different resources here that are going to help you, but I wanted to specifically show you our schedule planning and registration guide. This is something that's going to be helpful to you throughout your time at St. Martin's. So what this is a guide we put together every year. And it's going to have a lot of helpful information and context. So it goes over the graduation requirements that I shared with you earlier. It talks in depth about the core requirements that I also shared with you earlier. And then it lists what are all the different academic programs we offer, so all the majors and minors we offer, so you can take a look at that if you just want to explore different areas. But what I really wanted to show you is every single major has this 2-page spread in it. And so on the left-hand side, what you'll see is a list of all the requirements for that major. So right now we're looking at biology. And so this lists out the different specific classes that are required for biology. And so you can use this as a guide and a way to track what you're taking as you go, and your advisor will keep track of this as well. And then on the right-hand side, it lays out kind of a sample 4-year plan of what you might want to take when to stay on track to graduate in that major. And it is a rough guide. You may not be on like exactly taking those classes, but it is a way that shows you what you could take when and lays it all out for you. So the reason that I wanted to show you this guide specifically, one, it's just a hugely helpful tool to always have as a reference. But two, as you're looking for possible classes, if you want to explore what might be involved or required for certain minors, you can look here before you start searching for classes. The other thing is when you search for classes, you need to know kind of the shortened, what we call the course code. So every major and academic discipline that we offer has a 3-character code to it. So we're looking at biology. So you're going to need to take classes in biology, classes in chemistry. So you'll see that bio classes are abbreviated BIO and chemistry classes are abbreviated CHM. That's their course code. We also have some areas that only have 2 letters, but you still need the 3 code. So you have to include a space. So social work is just SW. So it'd be SW space and then the course number. You must have that space. It's important to have the 3 or your search won't work correctly. So these are resources that are going to be helpful to you before you start looking at classes. And again, I'm going to email you all this information. So let me show you how to actually use self-service now. So there's a lot of different ways you can get into the self-service system from our webpage, but probably the easiest is just to click on the current students tab. And the exciting thing is that you are now considered current students because we're getting you registered for classes. You're no longer intended students, so that's exciting. But on the current students page, if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see connections to a lot of the different areas you're going to use a lot. Your email, library services, Moodle, which is kind of our online system where your information for your classes will be, and you might turn in assignments. And so your faculty will use that in different ways. But again, there's also the link to self-service right here. So this is what the menu looks like. Yours is going to look slightly different from mine. I'm not a student, so I don't have the same information you do, but you'll want to use the login on the side to be able to register for classes, and this login is the same information you use to get into your email. So that same username and password. But to just search for courses, we don't have to log in. You can click this Find Courses tab, or link, excuse me. And it's going to bring you to this search screen. And I'm going to show you quickly how to search in 2 different ways for classes. One is if you know the very specific class you're looking for. So I mentioned, let's say you're going to major in criminal justice. And so you want to search for Criminal Justice 101. So you're going to type in the 3-digit course code, which is CJ space 101. So you can type in the specific course you want to take, and then you have to select the period. You always have to select that. So you want to select fall, because that's what we're looking for. And then when you search, it's going to specifically bring up just that class. So it's going to show you that there's a couple different sections, a Criminal Justice 101 being offered. And it's going to bring up a bunch of different information. So first, you're going to see a little icon of a book. And here it's green and open because that's indicating to us, you'll see there's a legend down here. It's indicating to us that the class still has available seats. It's still open. If you see a red book, that means it's full, it's closed, you can't register for it. Then we come to the full official title of the course, Introduction to Criminal Justice. Underneath it, you'll see the abbreviated course number we used, CJ101. And then you'll see who the instructor is. You'll notice that the course code here is always going to be in blue, and that's because it's a hyperlink. And we do want you to click on this. It's going to bring up a box of extra information. And the reason it's important to click and go deeper is there's 2 pieces of information in the box you're not going to find anywhere else. One is the course description. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the class beyond just the title. The other is if there's any kind of prerequisite for the course. This class doesn't have one. You can see here, no prereqs, no co-reqs. But some classes you need to have taken a certain class previously before you can enroll in it. And that will show you that here. And that's really important before you register to see if a course has a prereq. Then we'll see the date of the course. So this top one is a in-person, on-campus, face-to-face, full semester course. But you'll see these next 2 ones down here, they're offered online. And so it's only offered the first half of the semester. So again, you want to look at the date for that. Session, you don't need to worry about as much unless you're looking to take an online course. So I'm not going to explain that right now. But just know you want to sign up for session 10 or 11 if you're going to do an online course. Then it shows you how many credits the class is worth. This is a 3-credit class. And then on the right, probably the most important part, when you're looking for classes to fit in with what you've already taken, is when is the course offered? Is this at a time I can take it? What days of the week, what time? And then it will also tell you what room the course will be in. A lot of our classes are going to be offered either 2 days a week or 3 days a week. There are some exceptions to that, but usually you're looking at 2 or 3 days a week for an hour to 2 hours at a time, depending on how many credits. And then I'll show you how many seats are still available in the course. So that's how you can search directly for a course. And then I'm going to show you very quickly how to search more broadly. So if you can also just look up a specific category, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to do that. One is, if you just want to take you need to fulfill that core 220 requirement. But there's several topics within it. You can type core 220. Again, you have to select fall. And then it's going to show you all the different sections with all the different topics being offered. So again, there's communication studies, gender and identity, some criminal justice, we just looked at that, some psychology. There's lots of options. So you could type the category and then see all your options. You can also look even more broadly than that. Let's say you're interested in history, but you're not sure what you might want to take or what time-wise might fit within your schedule. You don't have a specific course in mind. You can just type HIS, which is the abbreviation for history, and fall, so nothing specified, just history, and it will bring up every single history class that's being offered this fall. So you can kind of peruse what's being offered. So that's a little bit about ways that you can search for classes. Let me get back to my presentation. I'm almost done. I know you've been listening to me for a long time, so I apologize. Okay, here we go. So we talked about searching for classes, using self-service. All right, so next steps. What happens from here? So like I said, later this evening, you're going to receive an email from me. You already got an email from your specific advisor today with your schedule. So this one's going to be a little more general for me, and it's going to have links to all the information I just shared with you. So you can do this on your own at home. We have 2 different types of advisors that are going to work with you this summer. And so I'll briefly explain the difference, and then I'm going to introduce you to them in the next few slides. But if you're in one of our professional programs, so nursing, education, or engineering, then you work with a program advisor from that program, and they're going to be your advisor this summer and kind of moving forward. They are always going to be your advisor, and so you're going to get to know them really well. So for engineering, it's Dave Moats. Education is McKenna Johnson, and nursing is Dr. Terry Wu. So you most likely, I'm sure you've already heard from them at some point over the summer, already been working with them, but they're your advisor now, and they're going to continue to be, they will continue to be your advisor. If you're in any other major, then over this summer, you're going to be working with one of the professional advisors in our office. So either myself, my colleague Christian James, or my colleague Amy. We will be your advisor this summer, but then when we move into the fall, we're going to assign you to a faculty member who's within your academic area, and they're going to become your permanent advisor. And so we'll be in touch with who that's going to be. You can get to know them in the fall, but we are going to transition you to work with a faculty, but we're your go-to people over the summer. I talked before about the fact that we're going to check your schedule, and we're going to make sure that you're getting what you need. You can't screw up this process. We'll make sure you get the right classes, because what happens when you register through self-service is you don't directly register. You submit courses for us to review. So when you say, I want to take this course, and we'll send you the specific directions on how to register. I couldn't show you that because I'm not a student, and so I don't have the same kind of access. But when you submit those classes and say, I want to take these, what happens is that your advisor, so over the summer, myself or someone else, will get an email alerting us that you have submitted courses. We'll go in and we'll look those over, and we'll make sure that it's something that's going to be beneficial to you. And we have to approve those classes before you're officially registered. So you're not going to sign up, don't worry about it. It's not like you're going to sign up for something that isn't helpful. If it's a class that's not appropriate, we'll tell you that, we'll deny it, and we'll help you find something that's a better fit. So there's a lot of help along the way. And again, I've got a note here. We do want to know if you're using military funding because that might affect the structure of your schedule. So we want to talk about that. So who's your advisor? I mentioned the program and departmental advisors. So you can see their pictures here since you can't meet them in person tonight. They emailed you earlier, so you have their direct contact information. So if you've got questions, you know how to reach them now. So again, nursing is Dr. Terry Wu. She's the head of the program. She's fantastic. McKenna Johnson works with everyone who's in our education program. She's a wealth of knowledge. She's fantastic. Dave Motes, I know he's been emailing you guys that are engineers because he wants to get all your information and make sure you're set up and ready to go, because engineering is one of those, you just got to hit the ground running in that major. It's great. It's a fantastic program. And then again, the professional advisors, I just want to lay out the different majors here real quick. So my colleague, Amy, if you are looking to major in accounting or business, she's going to be your go-to person this summer. And she's been just, real deep into your schedule. She's aware of your situations and she'll be able to help you out. Christian James is going to work with those of you who are looking at exercise science, mathematics, or psychology. And I've got a whole slew of other people. I'm everyone else. So communication, history, literature, any of the pre-health people, any of the natural sciences, biology, chemistry, political science, social work, pre-law, I've got it all. I also have the undecided students, and I do want to talk to undecided students very specifically real quickly. It is okay that you don't necessarily know specifically what you want to major in yet. That's perfectly fine. You can determine a major at any time. You can change a major at any time. I love working with undecided students. It's such a joy for me to help you figure out what you actually want to do. And so I'm going to be in contact with you a little more directly this summer, because even though you may not have a specific major, you probably have certain areas of interest in mind. And I want to help you craft a schedule that's going to help you move in that direction and explore your interests. So that's what I have for you today. I know I talked for a long time, so thank you for your patience with me. Our general office contact is advising at stmartin.edu, but don't hesitate to reach out to the advisor that emailed you this morning, and be on the lookout for a follow-up email from me with directions on how to register. I'm going to turn it back over to Alexis. Thank you all so much, and I'll be back later for questions if you have them after the rest of our program.